broadcasting live from Cebu Technological University main campus.
You're listening to DYRPH 26.2 News of the Truth.
For the voices of the youth.
Good afternoon, Philippines. I am Nika Ann Malundo, and today is March 28 with a Philippine Standard Time of 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and here are the latest news for this hour. The retraction of Jose Rizal, Rizal's doubts on the Catholic Church, Rizal's letter to his friend Ferdinand Blumentritt, Rizal's doubts about the teaching of the Catholic Church in his novel Noli Me Tangere through Pilosopong Tasio, Rizal's arguments and man's salvation through Pilosopong Tasio, Rizal exile in Btled, the beginning of the retraction controversy, analyzing the retraction issue, and the 3 retraction documents under Father POP, Father Gracia, and Father Ortiz. Here is Joanna Marie Villaver for the details.
Today, we are tackling a question that sparked heated discussion for over a century. Did Jose Rizal, our national hero, truly retracted his criticism of the Catholic Church? The retraction of Jose Rizal, it is one of the most controversial issues in Philippine history. Up until today, this retraction issue is a subject of discussion among historians, researchers, and students of history. What is really the truth behind this controversy? We can have a better understanding on the issue if we look back at some of the developments in the life of Jose Rizal. Joanna Marie Villaver, News Quest.
Thank you, Joanna. For Rizal's doubts on the Catholic Church, Melissa Butang has the story.
Rizal's novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo exposed the corruption and abuses of the Spanish colonial government and the Catholic Church, making him a target of the friars. He was excommunicado but remained defiant, continuing to criticize the friars' exploitation of religion. Melissa Butang, News Quest.
Thank you, Mel. To talk about Rizal's letter to his friend Ferdinand Blumentritt, here is Danica Rose Quizon to serve the news.
Ferdinand Blumentritt, who like him, was also a liberal thinker. In his letter to his friend, Rizal says, "What happened in the Philippines is horrible. The friars abused the name of the religion to enrich their large landed estates, religion to seduce innocent young women, religion to do away with an enemy, religion to disturb the peace between husband and wife, if not to sully the wife's honor, which means friars is an abuser." Danica Rose Quizon, News Quest.
Thank you. More news when we return.
Kylie, wake up! You're gonna be late for school. Please get ready and prepare your things before you leave.
I'm ready.
Sure? Where is your tumbler?
Wait, Mom, let me get it.
Always remember to bring water and stay hydrated. What about your umbrella and your extra shirt?
Well, I guess I'm not yet ready.
By taking these simple precautions, everyone can stay safe even during the hardest moments. Enjoy the beauty and fun the summer has to end.
You're still listening to DYRPH News Center. Rizal's doubts about the teaching of the Catholic Church in his novel Noli Me Tangere through Pilosopong Tasio, Florence Pasimihan gives us this report.
In Noli Me Tangere, through Pilosopong Tasio, Rizal questions the Catholic doctrine of exclusive salvation. He points out that if only 5% of Catholics are saved, and Catholics represent only 1/12 of the world's population, then a minuscule fraction of humanity would be saved. This implies that countless people suffered before Christ's arrival, with only a tiny percentage ultimately achieving salvation. Florence Antoinette Pasuluhan, News Quest.
And to talk about Rizal's arguments on man's salvation through Pilosopong Tasio, here is Kyle Herente for more updates.
Rizal through Pilosopong Tasio criticizes the idea of exclusive salvation for Catholics. He argues that if God's salvation required the eternal damnation of countless people for inherent flaws, then God would be more like the cruel Phoenician god Moloch than a benevolent being. Rizal considered such as belief blasphemous, suggesting it portrays God as a monstrous figure rather than loving one. Kyle Herente, News Quest.
For the historical news, Rizal exile in Dapitan. Here's Joanna Marie Villaver and Danica Rose Quizon for the story.
Yes, Nix, despite his sharp critics of the Catholic Church, Rizal maintained personal respect for individual priests like Father Ramon and Father Faura. They, in turn, tried to bring him back to the church, but Rizal firmly declined, stating he no longer adhered to Catholic teaching. Father Faura concerned for Rizal's safety, advised him to leave the Philippines. During his exile in the Pitan, the Jesuits made further attempts to reconcile Rizal with the church first. Father Obak offered him the lodging with strict conditions, public retract of his errors, adherence to church practices, and his exemplary conduct, which Rizal rejected. Second, Father Pastas said Father Sanchez, Rizal's respected former teacher, hoped his influence would succeed. However, Rizal remains steadfast in his beliefs, particularly regarding the Eucharist and Catholic rituals, and refused to return to the church. Danica Rose Rizal, News Quest.
Multiple attempts were made to reconcile Rizal with the Catholic Church during his Dapitan exile. Captain General Carnicio failed, as did Father Pastor. Despite 2 years of intellectual debate via letters, Rizal's reason and logic were considered superior to Pastor's faith. Even his love for Josephine Bracken couldn't sway him. When he wished to marry her, Father Albach demanded a retraction of Rizal's anti-Catholic writings. Rizal drafted a version, but it was rejected. Consequently, they lived together and married, enduring social criticism and Father Albach's sermons. This episode showcases Rizal's unwavering commitment to his principles and his intellectual strength against religious pressure. For the historical news, this is Joanna Marie Villaver reporting. Back to you, Nix.
We will be right back after this short advertisement.
This video is sponsored by Kangkong Chips by Josh Moica. Sa unang kagat, ginawa ko naman lahat.
Paano bang magmahal? Palagi bang masasaktan? Umiiyak na lang palagi, gusto ko nang lumisan. Paano bang magmahal? Kailan bang nasasaktan? Lagi na lang di maaari, ngunit ayaw lumisan.
And we are back for the controversial news. You are still tuning in DYRPH 26.2 News Center. For the beginning of the retraction controversy, Melissa Gutang reporting.
Yes, Nix, the Rizal retraction controversy is fueled by conflicting claims and documents. It began with Ritana's claim of possessing Rizal's retraction. Father PUP then produced a different version, asserting its authenticity. Decades later, Father Gracia claimed to have found the original in the Archbishop's files, further complicating the matter. Adding to the confusion, Father Ortiz published yet another version, creating multiple competing claims of what Rizal actually wrote. Melissa Gutang, News Quest.
Are the Jesuits telling the truth about the retraction document of Rizal? These are just some of the questions that have fueled decades of debate. So which version is the real one, if any, and why did it take so long for these documents to surface? Why wasn't Rizal's supposed retraction made public immediately after his execution? If Rizal really retracted, why did they allow his execution to push through? Why did they not do something to prevent it? If Rizal truly retracted, why was he buried in a manner reserved for those who died without repentance, without a coffin? And why was his name listed among those who died without repenting their sins? If retracted, therefore he repented for his sins, if he had sinned from the point of view of the Catholic Church. And why are there three versions of the retractions of the national hero? If he really retracted, in analyzing the retraction issues, here's Flores Antoinette Pasaduhan for more information.
The credibility of Rizal's allegedly retraction is heavily questioned due to several inconsistencies. Failure of respected priests. Despite attempts by influential priests like Ramon, Faura, Sanchez, and Pastels, Rizal remains steadfast in his beliefs. It's perplexing how Father Balaguer, a seemingly less significant figure, supposedly succeeded moments before Rizal's execution. Balaguer's allegedly method. Balaguer's reported use of threats of eternal damnation clashes with Rizal's known belief in a loving and forgiving God, as expressed in his writings. Rizal's character. Rizal's strong character makes it improbable that he would succumb to such threats, especially considering previous intellectual battles with clergy. Doubts about Balaguer's account. Scholars like Miguel de Unamuno and historians like Lobac have raised serious doubts about Balaguer's veracity, citing inconsistencies and the potential for fabrication by the friars. Rizal's firm belief in God. While Rizal left the Catholic Church, he never lost his faith in God. This is Florence Antoinette Pasuluhan, News Quest.
The three retraction documents under Father P.U.P., Father Gracia, and Father Ortiz, a perusal of the three retraction documents is necessary to give the student of history a chance to make their own analysis of this controversial issue. For documentary news, here is Kyle Hilente for more info.
Yes, Nix, the controversy surrounding Rizal's alleged retraction centers on the varying versions of the document. Despite differences in wording and phrasing, all three versions share elements. Declaration of Catholicism. Rizal declares himself a Catholic and expresses a desire to live and die in the Catholic faith. Retraction of criticism. He retracts all statements, writings, publications, and conduct that contradict his status as a son of the Church. Condemnation of Masonry. All versions explicitly condemn Masonry as a society rejected by the Church and an enemy of the Church. Authorization for public disclosure. Rizal authorizes the diocesan prelate to make the retraction public to repair any scandal caused by his action. Request for forgiveness. He expresses a desire for forgiveness from God and men. This commonality suggests a central message, but the variation fuels skepticism about the document's authenticity. Kyle Herente reporting.
The three retraction differences, though seemingly minor, raise significant questions. Why the discrepancies? If these were all copies of an original document, why the need for alterations? The authenticity of the retraction documents remains a matter of interpretation. Overall message used is exactly the same, and this is a crucial point of contention. As critics argue that genuine copies of the same document should be identical, they have minor variations in spelling and grammar between the Spanish version of these documents. The documents are attributed to different sources and were discovered at different times. Father P.U.P.'s document, this version was presented as the original, supposedly given to Archbishop Nazaleda. Father Gracia's document, this version was discovered later in the Archbishop files, and Father Francisco A. Ortiz published a document which he claimed was the original retraction of Rizal. Does Rizal really retracted? What is the evidence that supports that claim? Here are Joanna Marie Villaver, Danica Rose Pizon, Melissa Gutang, and Florence Antoinette Pasuluhan for the evidences.
These are the evidences that support the claim that Rizal was not retracted. First was the copy of the retraction paper that was allegedly signed by the Rizal that was even kept secret and was only published in newspapers. When Rizal's family requested for the original copy, it was said that it was lost. Could be the Jesuits be this irresponsible to not know the value of the paper, or was it just hidden?
For another evidence as to Rizal why not retract is that when Father Balaguer came to terms that he married Jose and Josephine. After Jose had signed the retraction paper, however, there was no marriage certificate or public record shown that could prove Father Balaguer's statement.
And for the third evidence, why would Rizal retract when he knows for a fact that even if he signs the retraction paper, he would still be executed? since the Archbishop and Jesuits cannot do anything to mitigate his penalty because the judicial process involved was purely a military tribunal where civilian or church interference was uncommon and not allowed. Rizal was accused of participating in filibusterous propaganda where the penalty as provided by the Spanish Code is death. The same of what happened to the three priests who were garroted years earlier. Even though they were still a part of the church, they were still treated as rebellious and were also not given a proper burial.
For the last evidence to support the claim, the fact that Rizal was buried in the sacred grounds of Papal Cemetery, a Catholic cemetery. This is used as an argument that the Catholic Church would not have allowed this if he had not retracted. Juana Marie Villiver,
Melissa Gutang,
and Florence Antoinette D. Paslan, News Quest.
Examining these documents firsthand allows us to form our own conclusions and grapple with the complexities of this historical puzzle.
Join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating and often perplexing chapters of Philippine history.
And that's all for today. This is Nika Ann Malundo.
This is Juana Marie Villiver.
This is Kyle Herente.
This is Deca Rose Rizal.
This is Florence Antoinette Pasluhan.
and this is Melissa Gutang from DYRPH 26.2 News Quest.
We will be back with more news as we continue to serve and reveal the truth. DYRPH 26.2 News Seeker for the Truth.
For the voices of the youth.
Thank you for listening, and to God be all the glory.